Happy Labor Day to everyone. It's thanks for being here. Great opening weekend for our conference. Want to speak about that before we got rolling. Huge win by South, so congratulations to Coach Jones and that group, and then Coach Satterfield on Thursday night from a national TV crowd. Really put on a good show against Tennessee in a narrow loss, and a big win for Texas State beating Ohio down there in his first game. So I think our conference is getting better. We've been talking about it, and it showed on opening weekend. I think it'll continue to show. Wrapping up Austin P, we're 1-0. Glad to do it. Wins are hard, so I think it's important we celebrate it and enjoy it. Appreciate the crowd, especially the students. Had a big student crowd, and I think they enjoyed themselves and had a good time. I know Stacy had a good time tweeting about them. It was Austin P was much improved. They're well coached. Will Healy and his staff are going to do a good job. We outmanned them in a lot of spots, and I thought we took care of business, and we were able to play a lot of guys. So it was a good win. I'll go through each phase and talk about some good and some bad, so you'll have some notes. Special teams wise, I'll hit on the negative first. We had 6 penalties, which is way too many, and several what I call selfish penalties, which are blocks in the backs, late hits, something like that. We had a fumble on a punt return. And then on positive side on special teams, had a net punt of 42, which is better than we were doing last year. I thought Ryan K hit the ball well. Thought our coverage units on kickoff and on punt were really solid. We had good operations. You know, our long snappers, holders, kickers, they all did a nice job. Defensively, hit the negative first. We only had one takeaway. I thought on first down, we weren't good enough, and Coach Vick's probably talked about that as well. Our communication, our eye discipline, and I know a couple of you asked about eye discipline. Eye discipline is really our eyes were all over the place instead of reading our keys, and I think some of that was first game jitters. Some of that's like Jeremy talked about after the game is we didn't know what to expect. And they surprised us with a couple unbalanced formations. Positives are we stopped the run. You know, they were under 3 yards per carry. We limited the explosive plays. By our count, they had 3 explosive plays. And then in the second half, we played good defense, played like we should have the whole game. Offensively, the positives, obviously the stats were really impressive. 706 yards total offense, third highest in the in Troy football history. We ran the ball really well. Several different running backs ran the ball well. O-line were much improved there, like we've talked about. 0 turnovers, always the most important. Also had 0 drops, which is something we've really emphasized during the offseason. 14 explosive plays. The negatives for us on offense, penalties, and then we had 83 snaps, but I thought our tempo could be better, and we've got to continue to press on that. Got some award winners that I tweeted out. You'll have a graphic on that. We'll do this after every win. Defensive player of the game was Junior. That's my man Dax voicing his. I think he's glad that Junior won the defensive player of the week. Junior Yankande was our defensive player of the week. He had 6 tackles, had a quarterback hurry. Special teams, Josh Marshall, special teams player of the week, had a perfect effort. Really did a good job on our coverage units, kickoff and on punt as a gunner. Had a tackle on the kickoff inside the 20. Offensively, Ish Salim, coming back off a knee injury, had 4 receptions, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Our O-lineman of the week was Deontay Crumity, making his first career start at center, graded out at 93%. Really proud of him. Scout team guys, real quick, I think it's important to notice them. On offense, it was Justin Wyatt. On defense, Monte Bartow, a new player to our program. And then on special teams, Clark Quisenberry, accepted his role and done a great job. Wanted to recognize him. Then 2 awards that we'll do that are win or lose, we'll recognize each week. Corey McCullough Spirit Award, which we give to the person on the sideline has the best spirit. That was A.J. Smiley, recovering from an injury. He had unbelievable energy on the side, or recovering from an injury, and he had unbelievable energy on the sidelines. And then our Nathan Harris Service Award, named after Nate, who passed away in May, goes to a guy on our team that really demonstrates service to his teammates, and that's Key Marvin Pitts, gets that inaugural award. So we'll recognize them. Moving on to Clemson, which I know y'all want to talk about. Big step up in competition, as you know. Coach Swinney and his staff done a tremendous job recruiting, and when you look at them across the board, they're big, they're long, and they're fast. They're exactly what you expect of the number 2 ranked team in the country. We're looking forward to getting to Death Valley, 12:30 Eastern kick. Great challenge, great opportunity, however you want to look at it. but it's one of the best atmosphere in college football. Should be fun. Offensively, they're led by Heisman Trophy frontrunner Deshaun Watson. I've been watching him play really since he was a freshman at Gainesville High School in Georgia, and run pass threat. You all know all about him. I don't need to talk about him much. Probably, as good a kid as he is player. Solid up front. They're led by a potential All-American at center. The running back, Gallman, he was a first-team All-ACC. He's a load to tackle. They got 3 really good wideouts. Mike Williams, who had a big game against Auburn. He's All-ACC. Artavis Scott, who's explosive not only on offense but in the return game. And they got Hunter Renfro, who's a baller. I like watching him play. Tight end is an All-SEC guy, Leggett. On defense, a lot of respect for Coach Venables. We've gone against each other several times. I think he's done a tremendous job since he's got to Clemson. They're big and they're long up front. Several potential pro guys up there playing in that group. They all look the same, interchangeable. They'll roll about 10 to 12 in the game. Their will linebackers, their leader on the defense, Ben Bolware. And then at corner, I thought 2 kids really stuck out in that Auburn game were 25, Tankersley. He was really physical, blowing up some screens on the perimeter. And then the safety, Van Smith, number 23, really got down in the box and made some big tackles for right at the line of scrimmage from that safety position. Special teams, they're solid. They do a really nice job. They switched up a couple things they did last year on the kickoff return unit. They've got 3 guys that they use in the return game that are all explosive. So with that, open up to questions.
What do you expect from a Venables defense?
Yeah, I think what they'll do is they're gonna always outnumber you in the box, regardless of your personnel. I think they'll have one more than you can block. Does a really good job mixing up his fronts. As far as going from a 4 down to a bare front, and then the secondary, they're good at corner, and so I think we expect to see quite a bit of man coverage, and they're well coached. They do a good job mixing up when they're going to pressure, when they're not going to pressure, and they'll have a plan.
You had success on offense this past week. How do you kind of keep working towards that and kind of get something to work against Clemson this coming week?
Well, I think when we started looking at this schedule and when we knew how it was going to lay out in front of us, going back to the winter even, we looked at these initial 2 games as kind of we needed to feel ourselves out, find out who we are and what we're about. We found a little bit last week. I'm not sure we're going to know really where we're at on either side of the ball until after we play the Southern Miss game. It'll be a challenge. Obviously, a lot stiffer competition this week. The biggest mismatches for us are up front. Their D-line against our offensive line. So we've got to figure out ways to put our guys in favorable positions, and we've got to be able to hold on to the ball, which means converting 3rd downs.
You mentioned you won't know who you are until after week 3. What are some of the things you're still looking for?
Well, I just think that in that Austin Peay game, we were clearly better at several positions. And this week, at some positions, not all of them, but it's almost roles reversals, and then we're going to play a lot of guys. We played a lot of guys in week 1. We're going to play a lot of guys in week 2 as well, and I think it's fair. Anytime you're playing in that heat, I think it's going to be in the low to mid 90s at kickoff on Saturday. So you play those day games, you got to be prepared to play a lot of guys, and when you play a lot of people, especially young guys, you're going to find out early what they're about. And we had some guys that stepped up and performed under the lights on Saturday night, and we had some guys that didn't show up quite as much as they'd been showing up in practice. And so we need to still filter through some of those things going into week 2 as well.
Coming in and playing Clemson, the number 2 team in the country, it kind of gets, in these situations, kind of like a mental game. You can get psyched out sometimes. How do you keep your players grounded in practice? What's the tone of practice?
No, I think you just go about your business. We didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about Austin Peay last week. We won't spend a whole lot of time talking about Clemson this week. I don't need to go in front of the team today when I see them at 3 o'clock and talk about Clemson being the number 2 ranked team, or Deshaun Watson being the Heisman Trophy candidate, or them being really good on defense. They can turn on SportsCenter and see that. They came home from the game and watched them against Auburn last week, so they know what they're up against. I think it's about us making a steady improvement. Through these first 3 games of the season, it's about us steadily getting better. And when we hit our 4th game, when New Mexico State comes here and we play at home again, we've got to be ready to click on all cylinders.
What's the challenge for the wide receiver core? How can they replicate what they did last week?
Well, it's going to be different. A lot of soft covers last week. I don't expect Clemson to give us a whole lot of room. I think they'll come down and play us in man coverage and press us and get in our face a little bit. That's what they've shown. and I think they'll continue to do that. So our guys got to work our release techniques, and we've got to do a better job with our discipline as far as getting our routes, sticking routes, leaning on people, you talk about it in practice, but once you see it in games, it's usually easily correctable.
Their bread and butter this week was the back shoulder fade against Auburn, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Wallace, I think his name was. How do you defend that? What's going to have to happen on defense to kind of change a little scheme up to get to fix that?
Yeah, Mike Williams, and unfortunately, there's no defense for that. If it's executed, there's not a whole lot you can do, and Watson threw that ball really well last week, and I think Williams, and I could be wrong on this, I think he had 170 yards receiving, something like that, and Auburn's got some dudes at corner now. I mean, Auburn's got some really good players defensively up front, but I thought their secondary played really well the other night, and they were in good coverage. The guy just made some plays, and you got to expect that's going to happen some, and you got to be able to play the next time, and hopefully you get some pressure on it where you can fake the throw. Mm-hmm.
Going to the next.
Sure.
You accomplished that this last Saturday. How do you continue that?
Well, we're playing with the same type of energy. We've got some confidence about us. We're taking the field with belief. We've got a much better understanding of what we're doing in all three phases. So yeah, I think it carried over. We'll take a confident group into Clemson, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see where we're at. We've got some young kids that it's going to be their first time in that type of atmosphere, so it'll be neat to see how they react. In my experience in the past, a lot of times when you take guys into those type of atmospheres for the first time, they raise their game. So I'm excited to see that.
This game's being shown on ACC Network and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
for people around in this area that
Yeah.
can watch it on WSFA, how great is that to get the home crowd and be able to see this game on local television?
No, I think it's huge. We're really appreciative of WSFA broadcasting that game, and I know a lot of our Troy people that aren't going to the game will be tuned in. So we're excited about that. I know several of your coworkers will be down here on campus on Thursday, so we're looking forward to hosting them. And it's good. Anytime we play in a nationally televised game and it can get broadcast here regionally, that's a huge benefit to our program without a doubt.
How do you attempt to simulate a guy like Deshaun Watson in practice?
If we had Deshaun Watson, he'd be playing. He wouldn't be on the scout team. I don't mean that as a bad question. We've got a kid that we're redshirting, Jalen Jones, who's similar size-wise to him, and he'll do a great job. I know he's excited about putting on the number 4 and running around and being Deshaun Watson and on our scout team. He'll give us a good look. Here's the thing: the biggest when you take these and you go play at Clemson or you go play some of these type games, the biggest difference is that you cannot replicate. You don't replicate it in practice. You don't replicate it even in some other games. Is the speed, and we're going to talk about it. Offensively, we talk about it a lot. It's a ball security issue because guys are running so well they're going to get hit blindly for the first time. Defensively, the ball gets on you so fast. So you're talking about an adjustment. What we've got to do is we've got to be able to weather the storm early in the contest as we adjust to the speed of the game.
I know you spoke about this somewhat specifically in your opening comments, but overall, so far in college football in this weekend, so many upsets, so many strange games,
Mm-hmm.
so many competitive games. Any overarching thoughts on what we've seen so far in college football and whether or not that's
Yeah.
going to play out this year?
It's fun. That's why it's the number 1 spectator sport in the country. It's look at that game last night. You talk about so many different scenarios, and it's been good. Took a lot of notes, honestly, watching these games this weekend, whether it was before we played on Saturday or watching the Thursday or Friday games or even watching that game last night. A lot of notes you take because no matter how well prepared you think your team is, there's always scenarios that say, I need to make sure I cover that. And but it's a great game. I say this all the time. It's talk about the atmosphere and the pageantry that goes along with college football, and it was fun to see the upsets. Somebody asked me the other day, were you pulling for South Alabama versus Mississippi State because they're one of your biggest rivals? I said, absolutely, man. we had our whole team was in there watching that game in the hotel lobby before I spoke to them before we left. So those are fun. I think each of the coaches in our league really pull for each other in those games because it helps raise the profile of our league.